And hello and welcome to the Cube Talk Show. My name is Joe Barbieri. I'm your host for this evening, and our topic today is abundance. The show is about money, so abundance will tie in naturally with it. Our guests today are Graham and Monika Burwise, founders of the Global Awakening Institute. And first off, how are you two doing?
Good, thank you. Very good to be here.
Thank you for having us here.
Yes, you're welcome. The first question is, well, tell me about your company and what you do.
We founded the Global Awakening Institute about a year and a half back. I'm a recent arrival to Canada, so it was a combining of our two diverse paths in terms of personal development and human dynamics and so on. Mm-hmm. So we've combined our different perspectives and approaches to things, and what we do is in simplest terms, we empower people, or we help people empower themselves.
And what was very evident in our lives is that we really wanted to help people. Ever since we were young, we were improving quality of people's lives. We were showing people that there is another way of living, and we did it through excitement and inspiration. And what happened is that we noticed that people are reacting to those things. So actually the name of your show is QB, as a cube. Mm-hmm. So the box. And what we did and what we are doing is helping people to think outside the box and showing them a little bit different perspective on money, relationships, self-worth, life in general, what this life is all about. And since we dedicated our lives to studying in that area for pretty much all our lives, so over 2 decades, each of us, we have a great material to share with people. And we took the journey ourselves as well, and we had experiences firsthand how to do it. So everything that we teach is not just acquired knowledge, it's the wisdom that we gain through applying that knowledge into our own life and being those first guinea pigs and seeing whether it works or not. And sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. So we were improving constantly and growing to the capacity that we can actually provide people with certain shortcuts. It doesn't have to take a lifetime now for someone knowing certain laws and following mm-hmm. certain steps. So that's where we step in, and we help people to live the lives that they really desire.
Yeah, this is a good time for that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So starting with abundance, so what would you say abundance is for somebody who's never heard that word before?
Well, from a personal perspective, from everything that I've been exploring and researching and so on, abundance to me is a very broad description of your total accumulation, or your, well, look, there's different levels of approaching that. I mean, in a universal sense, abundance is the unlimited supply that we have access to, or that we can have access to. On a more personal level, your abundance is everything that is available to you, and most people think of it in terms of money, but it's also your social influence and your relationships and your sense of self-worth. Those things all can be brought under the umbrella of abundance.
So would you put time in there as well?
I think, yeah, I would definitely do that. Although everybody has the same number of seconds in a day, I think how we learn to use the time productively is part of our abundance, yeah.
And since we are speaking outside the box, the abundance is really the field that we live in. It's everything that it's really other description of consciousness. It's everything there was, is, and will be. It's a field. We tend to believe that abundance is something tangible that we can get, and it doesn't relate neither to money or prosperity or wealth. It's the field that provides us with the fulfillment of our needs and desires, and provides us the freedom to be who we want to be and to do what we want to do. That's how I would describe it. There's so much more to that. It's, how abundant are we? What are we looking at? Are we looking at relationships? Are we looking at health? Are we looking at finances? Are we looking at friendships? It's pretty much all of it. And if we have any area that we see as is lacking something, we are not seeing it in terms of abundance. Yet we describe abundance in a way that we would like it to show up in our lives. So for us, for example, having a good job might be abundant, part of abundance. But for some other people, not having the job, quitting the job and following their dreams, like you do, Joe, and that is abundance. So what is really abundance? It's a state of mind. It's how we see what we see around us.
So it's about what's possible.
Absolutely.
And what you're seeing. So, well, we'll talk more about that. Well, I guess I could start with this. The other side of that story is people don't think they're abundant. People think they don't have enough of this or they need more of that. What's causing that? Why do people do that? I mean, I can tell you what I think, but...
Yeah, well, I'd be very interested to hear your perspective on it as well. I think we've been taught to look at things specific ways, and many of those ways are incomplete. So, we construct our lives according to our innermost desires. Our true self, basically, sets up how our life looks. And then we've got all the social programming that says you should have so much money in the bank, and you should have a house and a stable, stable job, and you should have, by 40 you should be married with 2 kids, and those are all erroneous ideas. That it's good for some people because that's their drive, that is their underlying desire in life. Other people have an affinity with nature, and they want to go and travel the world and protect the environment in the Amazon jungle and not have a house and a car and a family, and that's cool for them, and that's their abundance. So it looks different for everyone. It's the same, pretty much the same as success. It looks different for everybody. But I think one of the things that blocks us is that we don't appreciate the value of the things we do have in life, where we've already been successful, and we've sort of, if you've set yourself up to have a lot of leisure time, and you don't have to work too hard, and you value that, to beat yourself up because you don't have a lot of money is senseless, because that's not your target, that's not your passion. You've set yourself up a certain way, and if you really view that with a little bit more awareness, you'll be able to then exchange. You'll be able to transform that into more abundance in different form if you choose to do it. And there really isn't much of right and wrong in terms of that. It comes down to, is it serving you? You know, so if it serves you up to now, or has served you up to now, and you've suddenly decided, hang on a minute, there's more to life than this, and I want that now, that's cool. Then, you know, you go through a transformation. But there's no point in beating yourself up because you've been like that for 20 years. That was who you were, and you should celebrate that. And that's a lot of, you know, that beating ourselves up for what we were often blocks further progress.
I will be like oscillating a little bit between the money and abundance, and the reason for that is because people still view abundance as money. So I will be kind of talking in that respect, and you know, over the years, over hundreds of years, we were brought up. It's a very religious conditioning, and we were taught to give and not to receive by the church, and it had its own agenda to get wealthy, of course. But it imprinted in people the belief that it's better to give than to receive. And what I'm noticing through my research and through working with clients is that people are not in a space of allowing. And another part of that conditioning is like Graham was saying, that we are not seeing what is already successful in our life, what is already abundant in our life, because we are constantly being fed what is wrong with our life, where we are shortcoming, where we are not doing good, and how nothing is satisfying in this society. So going back to the church, we were taught that we can save ourselves. It's such a deeply rooted belief that we still want to kind of redeem ourselves in the eyes of God, and that is very difficult to kind of overcome for many people. And so the allowing, and people are not allowing the abundance to come their way. And I did research on myself and on and with the clients, is what are they? What's coming into their life? They don't believe they deserve things to come their way. They believe that they have to work very hard for those things, for the life to be abundant or prosperous in different regards. And it's very easy to observe that with the small things. Like, for example, we have a coffee, somebody offers us a coffee. It's like, can I buy you a coffee? No, thank you very much, I already had one. Or, no, I don't drink coffee, I only drink tea. Or, you know, it's not the time of the day. And also, it's very present with compliments. People don't even know how to receive compliments. It's like, you look beautiful. Oh no, you know what, today my hair is not really right, whatever. Your dress is amazing. You know, I have the other dress, which is better. I just didn't iron it before. That's what comes down to. Or simple, nice to see you. Nice to see you too. So either we are going to distract ourselves from receiving the nice comment, or we are going to give it right back. Like we feel we are, we own them something for that. Instead of saying thank you, we are like right back at them. No, you look very good too, or nice to see you too. So it's the first step to allowing that, to even see how abundant we are in our life, is to see what comes our way, but to be able to notice that, to open that awareness, what is really coming. And I practiced that with myself for many years. I grew up in a Catholic family in Eastern Europe where it was all about giving and not about receiving. And I dragged every single birthday. I never received gifts. And I was aware enough and conscious enough to see that there is something wrong with that picture. And I was observing it. And
everybody wants gifts.
It doesn't matter, anything. Even when we were exchanging gifts at school events, I was getting the worst gift out of all. I still remember I received a a little painting on the wood that size of Mona Lisa, and I was about 9 years old. It's like maybe it had an impact on me because my email is Mona Lisa, and a lot of other things somehow go around that. But it was really so difficult for me to understand why. And I started to work at a very trendy nightclub that opened up in my city. And I went there, and the first thing that the girls told me is, we are making so much tips in here. And in reality, they were making a month salary in tips. So you better shape up and get the same amount of money or you're out. And I didn't agree with any of it. I'm like, what do you mean receiving that much money? And that was my first boot camp in receiving. And it was very strenuous for me. It was so not in alignment, and I learned it. Ever since then, I started to practice it more and more. I started to, if somebody offered me a coffee, I took a coffee. If somebody gave me a gift, even small one, I didn't need it, I didn't like it, whatever, I would take it. A token, a ticket to a hockey game that I don't like. I would take everything that comes my way. And at the beginning, the gifts were very very funny. But as I was practicing it and I was growing that muscle, the gifts started to be, or the gifts from the universe, whatever you want to call it, started to be more thoughtful and bigger. And abundance comes in many ways. And people think that abundance have to come in terms of money. And this is a misconception, because all-powerful universe has probably the infinite ways of providing us with whatever we need in our lives. So I started to exercise that too, and I remember I wanted to go to visit my family in Europe, and I didn't have the money for the ticket and for the whole trip, and I'm like, I need the money. And at some point I caught myself, and I remembered that it's not about the money. It's like, I want to just go for a trip. And soon after, the ticket showed up. Somebody gave me a ticket. And so the allowing part is very big part of the abundance in our lives, and recognizing what we already have and what is coming our way. In a long version.
Yeah. Yes, something you said earlier about there has to be more than this. That was my key phrase for making a step. I said that about 3 or 4 different times, and each one of them led to a massive change. So there was a health change, there was a job change, there was a home change. I bought my first condo. It's very true. So allowance, I guess self-worth is part of this too.
Absolutely.
If you don't feel you're supposed to get it, you're not supposed to get it, are you?
Well, it's very much, we define what can appear in our lives by our own concept of it. And that relates to self-worth, in that you do attract into your life or manifest in your life, if you want to use that terminology, according to what you perceive your worth to be. And your total accumulated wealth, not just money, but your relationships, your social connection and influence, your health and well-being, all of those things, accumulated, sort of relates directly to how you perceive yourself, to your level of worth. And one of the reasons that the law of attraction stuff doesn't work for everybody is that they leave that part of it out. So instead of growing internally, growing your self-worth, your sense of worth, and being able to then accumulate more wealth in general, it becomes an exchange. So you focus on something, you divert your attention away from what you have managed to accumulate, and you focus dedicatedly on this thing. You might achieve it, but you're going to lose something to the equal value in your life. You might wreck a relationship, or do damage to your how you're viewed at work, or in some way you're going to lose something. So the idea to tackle building wealth is to look at self-worth and build your self-worth. And there are actually particular exercises that you can do to do that, and we play with that a lot in the workshops that we do.
Yeah. Any hints?
Well,
you don't want to give too much away, but
one of the things that I do that people look at me and say, "You can't be serious," and then they do it, and they, having repeated that process, it has a very powerful effect. And that's simply just it's about opening your perspective of yourself and looking at yourself from different ways. We tend to get stuck in a box in terms of how we see ourselves. So it's about, again, something Monika talks about is making an inventory of your success, looking at everything you have accumulated and looking at the real value of that. It's like when you make if you've got nothing, if you make $100, you'd be really excited. If you have $2 million in the bank and you make $100, it's not even noteworthy. So the idea is to maintain our perspective on things and maintain a value. And then, in terms of you can build your self-worth up by looking at how your successes have helped other people, how they've influenced other people positively, and just make a list and continue to add to that list. And you could stretch that even further and say, well, how have my failures served other people and been a benefit? They've managed to avoid those things, or they got an opportunity that we missed out on, or so there's various ways that your failures serve other people. And if you actually physically make a list of all these things, you're twisting the perspective of yourself that you have, that you've done this wrong and that wrong, and you take the weight off it, because now wrong has served somebody. So you lighten your load and you increase your self-worth. You start understanding that you're playing a valuable role in this world, and whatever you choose to do is not right or wrong, it's just whatever you choose to do, and it will serve people unexpectedly. So yeah, there's a whole range of other exercises too, but that's just a starting point. Yeah.
Well, how the failures have served me, that's something I've looked at, and it's amazing what they've done.
Absolutely.
It's always in hindsight that I can see it. It's not at the time, but they're very...
we tend not to think that way. So it's a good exercise.
It's all about perception. It's like we think of the failures as the bad thing, because we gave it a certain label. But if we just play with the label, it's just a different side of the coin. There is no failures in life. Everything is a stepping stone to success. Like Albert Einstein said that I didn't fail 10,000 times. It was a 10,000 step process. And I think I very much like it. And what I want to add to the whole concept of prosperity and money is that first we need to really know what we want. And we have that perception that what we want is money. Everybody is after money, that money will give them that which they are really looking for. And the reason why they are not getting the money is because it's not what they are after. What are you really after? Is it more time, or is it time with your family? Is it love? Is it fulfilling career? Is it creativity, writing a book, being a speaker, or raising kids, whatever that is, or traveling? It's not money. So what really stops you in getting that? Is it the money or is it you? Can you be fulfilled writing your book? You don't need the money for it. You just need to sit down and create a space for yourself to write a little bit at a time. The same with family. You're not going to be happy with a family because you have a lot of money. You're going to be happy. You can start right now by just making yourself into that space. And I always give that example. If you squeeze an orange, what is it going to come out of it? An orange juice, right? Not an apple juice, not a prune juice, orange juice. It doesn't matter who squeezes the orange. It doesn't matter how hard it is being squeezed. What's come up is the orange juice. So what is within us is going to come out. And actually what money does, it's accelerate that process of that stuff coming out. So what we associate money with is the security and safety. And money is not going to give it to us. If we are having fear inside of, or we are feeling insecure, whether we have money or not, it's going to come out. It's just in a little bit different, in a different ways. At some point, without having money, you can be insecure about not being at the level of your friends, let's say. But when you have the money, there's always going to be somebody richer, or you might be insecure about losing the fortune that you already gained. So it's not about the money. So coming back, what we do with our clients is to first draw all of them, and it might not be the easiest process, is what do you really want? The moment you get it clearly, it's so miraculous. It just shows up. It just shows up. And I had many of those instances in my life, and I experimented with that as well. So it's really about knowing what you want.
Okay, and we're about halfway through, so we'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back and continue. Okay, we're back at the Cube Talk Show with Graham and Monika Burwise. We're talking about abundance, and we went through allowance and self-esteem, and I'm going to bring up 2 more words: choice and responsibility. Now, with all of this, people say that everything is a choice, and that you are your sum of your choices. So, and then with that comes the responsibility of you have to take ownership of what you're doing. So how does that fit into everything we've said so far?
Oh, that immediately what comes up for me is being authentic. Making choices and taking responsibility is very much to do with being authentic. Very often, I think, it's not that people have mistakenly chosen to look at things a certain way, but I think, it's only now that we're starting to understand that we actually do very much create our own lives the way they are. It's not somebody else's choices or responsibility. There's actually very little that's outside of our control in terms of our own lives. So, when we start taking active responsibility for the choices we've made and the situations that we've created and the circumstances we find ourselves in, just doing that empowers us to be able to make better choices, because it's a different space. It's kind of a higher state of wisdom to be in full responsibility and full authenticity with yourself than to be blaming other people and playing the victim, because that's a sort of powerless state to be in. So it's automatically empowering to take responsibility for your life, and then that has a proactive aspect in terms of then you can extend that into what do I want from my life, and you can start making proactive choices, looking at things in a more with a bit more balanced perspective, and understanding that you're in charge of what you're going to create.
Responsibility is my favorite topic. How much time do we have? Yeah. So, number one thing in people's life that disempowers them in life is not taking the responsibility, as we are talking here about. Is we are constantly looking for something out there that is happening to us. Life is happening to us, and unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It happens through us. We are the co-creators. We are creating, and we blame pretty much all the time the circumstances, the people outside of us for whatever we are. It's almost like most people don't even realize how much they are giving that power away to the outside circumstances. The moment we actually take 100 full responsibility, we are claiming our power back, and only from that space we are able to change the circumstances in right that moment. And another thing that will probably blow many people's minds, and just let's do it because we are talking outside the box, is that there is a God out there who is either doing things to us or giving us things. So again, we are disempowering ourselves, not being able to create what we want in life. But it's not so. We are, as the fingers are a part of the hand, so we are an extension of God. What does that mean? God is actually happening through us. It's expressing ourselves through us. So we really have a free will to choose whatever we want to choose. But we have to understand that there is nowhere out there to go for help or for supply. We are our own supply. Money is not our supplies, our relationships, our jobs. Nothing on the outside is our supply. That's why I say abundance or prosperity or money, it's a spiritual journey of getting to know yourself. It's a spiritual journey. And how well we are doing with that is going to correspond how well we are serving ourselves, and how well are we serving others, and how well we are exchanging the constant flow of the giving and the receiving energy. That's how we are going to bloom, and it's going to show in all areas of our lives, including the finances. Money is energy. Energy is infinite. There is an infinite amount of energy and money. And just to give a slight example, money is being transferred electronically nowadays for a long time. It goes through ethers every single day. Billions of dollars are not being physically transferred. There is no physical money. It goes through ethers. It's right here, everywhere. It goes through us. What happens is just we need to tap into that energy. Money is all around us. It's just amazing. It's so much to talk about that, but it's going back to responsibility, is taking the responsibility for our life, however shitty situation we are in. But the moment we are actually agreeing with that, that's what I created, then we realize we have the power to uncreate it or create something else.
From my experience, well, say 20 years ago to now, because a lot has changed, 20 years ago, if somebody said, you know, you did all this, I would have said, yeah, okay, just get lost. But what I'm seeing now is that was unconscious. The choices are being made, but if you don't know about them, they're still being made. They say gravity hits you wherever you are, even if you don't understand it.
Yeah.
Same with electricity, same with whatever laws are going on. So that's what I discovered about choices, that either you do it or they're done for you, but they're going to get done.
Yeah.
And if you don't know about it, they still get done.
Yeah.
So this is about either I'm going to do it and I'm going to know what I'm doing, or it's going to be handed to me with circumstance.
Yeah.
Or with scenarios, or with...
And the funny thing is that the circumstances that we get from the unconscious aspect you're talking about are always part of a growth curve. They're always part of a learning process. You know, people look at the way their life looks and they're very judgmental of it, and they decide that this is not what they deserve and life shouldn't look like that, and they have symptomatic results of that look like depression and resentment and anger and fear and all sorts of things. And that's basically just coming from a warped perspective of your reality. If you recognize that, you know, you're challenged in life anywhere where you're presently disempowered, then you start to realize, hang on, you know, these things that are challenging me are showing me what areas of my life I need to take a particular attention to empower myself. And any area of life can be developed into a power, to be empowered, so to speak. So, you know, one of the most valuable things, obviously, is your physical health and well-being. You know, so many of today's people just ignore their diet, they ignore their physical exercise, they let themselves kind of go, and they realize far too late they need to do something about all this. And then a lot of the damage has been done over 20 years of poor diet, lack of exercise. It's very difficult to recover from that. So, you know, that's just one area of life. You can look at, you know, social, for instance, your social engagement, your connections and influence, that can also be developed into a power. And in fact, whatever your particular values or motivations in life look like, your underlying desires, who you really are, you'll tend to focus on the specific areas. And each of those areas can actually be developed into a financial value. You know, people that are very healthy or into fitness, they find ways to make that pay for them. You know, they do fitness programs, or they, you know, they become a fitness celebrity, or people who are, you know, have good genetics and look beautiful become models. And so there's ways to make physical pay, and it's the same for anything. You can tap into your social connections, you can tap into your family and understanding of relationships, and you can make that pay. You can take any area of life and transform it into money if you understand it and appreciate it properly.
Another question that just came to my mind is like, how much money is enough?
Oh, yeah.
And for some people, making $3,000 a month and just sustaining their family and being balanced in all areas, having great friends, great family, healthy children, and having to be able to provide for them is going to be enough. For some people, a triple salary is going to be enough. But for some people, $1 million, and then maybe multi-million dollars. It's not really how much money we have, but how well we manage the money that we do have. And one of the examples might be a secretary that I think you mentioned that, Graham, who is making just a average pay, and at the end of the month she was able to save $10,000. And her CEO is making exponentially more money, and by the end of the year, because he's sustaining his lifestyle, he has to borrow the money to pay his taxes.
Yeah.
True or true?
I've
yes.
seen stories, it's true.
So it's also about how we manage the money that we do have. It's very important, because I know a lot of millionaires who are darn broke because they engage in a lifestyle that is higher than the amount.
Well, that speaks to the treadmill that you often hear people talking about. You mentioned that earlier. You can either be trapped in the consumer mindset, where the more money you make, the more money you spend, and you can get into that cycle, and there is no end to it. If you really talk to people who have successfully developed huge amounts of wealth, they talk about, and most of them, and apart from a few people who are really out there, most of them are just normal people. You wouldn't know. They don't particularly dress up in the most expensive clothing. They don't drive the most expensive car. They keep their means well within the finances, and their value is actually on building wealth. That it's not about what do you want to do with the money, it's actually about the money. And if you really want to develop any kind of serious wealth, you actually have to develop a value on money itself. And otherwise you're going to spend it on whatever is important to you. So at some point you have to value money to be able to really accumulate money. There's a lot of sayings that money is the root of all evil, and there's a lot of new stuff out there that people are saying, well, I think it was Will Smith who said that it's not, money doesn't change you, it just amplifies what's already in there. And that I've found to be very true as well. So we've got a lot of built-in fears that have accumulated because of our culture and social upbringing and stuff surrounding money. And one of the things that we need to tackle is looking at which of those beliefs serve us and which are obsolete, which is what's erroneous, and dump it. Because those things, they're just roadblocks, they get in our way.
And I also want to talk a little bit about inner guidance and how it relates to money and abundance. We are born with the GPS, divine GPS inside us. We can call it intuition, sixth sense, however. And it constantly sends signals through us to lead us on a fulfilling path. And that balanced path, as Graham was saying, into all areas of our life. And we got those messages all the time. Now, the question is, are we listening to them? And again, through what I observed, not very well. And one of the reasons is that we expect the divine guidance to come in a certain way. So if it's going to align with what we believe is true for us, then we will listen to it, perhaps. But most of the time we are just scared of it, so we shut it completely out, and we are just going by the head, by the mind, which is completely limited in so many ways. And for example, like, what would happen if we are at the job and there is a voice telling us to quit the job immediately? It's like we would get scared, fear. So we pretend we don't we don't hear anything. Yet there's always a signal telling us what to do and how to go about this. If we only are able to tune into ourselves, all the answers are there. How to live our life, how to be prosperous, how we are already prosperous. But it would lead us through a way to allow us to live that life that we desire, that we are.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Just something that I learned many years ago popped into my head now while I was listening to you say that. And we know for a fact that the deep subconscious doesn't deal in negatives at all. It doesn't understand what a negative is. So if you tell yourself, I don't smoke, it's saying, smoke? Where? So if it tells you quit your job, there's something. Seek out a psychiatrist immediately. If it's telling you to do something else, follow that. Follow the positive stuff. Very often the negative stuff is the confusion that we're, that's distracting.
Thank you for adding that, because I had that definitely in mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking, following the positive prompts that we have. You should be writing a book, or there's so much value, more value you could bring to the world. Or we have these ideas, but we also have negative ideas, which sometimes can put us in. And those are the ideas where we put ourselves at risk.
I think all three of us here were put in that position where we had to get a divine slap in the face and follow the voice.
Yeah.
Now, I'll add something to that, which is interesting. I have been warned to stay away from things, and it turned out it was exactly what I needed. And it was pretty obvious, because my body actually hurt when I got those signals to say, if you do that, it's not going to work out well.
Yeah.
But I think it's different than saying it's negative. I think it was more like, do this instead.
Yes.
Or,
well, I'm not saying.
But there was this intensity with this thing that it's like.
Premonition in terms of warnings of, stay away from that, stay away from this. I'm not disagreeing with. The bold statement of, you get this inspiring idea to suddenly quit your job. If you don't have some other idea, then rather first look at the idea and get some idea of what am I going to do. Because that's the kind of negative thing, because we're kind of impulsive, and the mind plays tricks on us. So if you're just getting a negative thing, then you can take a double take on that one and have an extra look.
We kind of did the shortcut, I may agree, but we talked about this, that we get hinges all the time, and there's a small voice, smaller steps, just for us to easier adjust to the changes. And then there is another voice, and at some point when we don't listen, it will scream at us, and we get fired. Never mind quit my job, but we get fired or something to that respect.
Yeah, that's another thing. Very often there's the whole process is part of this thing. We have to learn. So if you're kind of sitting there and you're not happy in your job, and you're doing nothing productive to set something else up or look at other alternatives, and you just sit there, you're going to start hating yourself. But at the same time, the universe is going to arrange things, because that's what you're thinking, to get you fired or to lose your job, or you'll break your legs so you cannot go to work. Something will come up to obstruct you if you don't take proactive action in terms of following that guidance. So that's important, because the challenges we experience in life tend to be accumulative. So if you take the hint and you follow the advice, you tend to the challenge is minimal. The more you resist and the more you stick with your fundamentalist idea of this is how it's going to be, and the more inflexible you are, the more you tend to get challenged, and those challenges can become really, really trying. Yeah. I mean, to the point where it's defined as trauma and crisis and stuff like that.
We have a few minutes left. Would you like to give contact information, a website for people
just
to...
Before we go, I would like to recap a couple things that might help your viewers and whoever is watching this, is what we were talking about in respect to allowing. How to allow is to go through that exercise of allowing anything and accepting anything that the people are providing us with on a daily basis, and watch yourself, your reactions. How are you being with that? Are you uncomfortable or whatever, but still accept it and exercise that muscle? The second step was to recognize your successes and really go through the day and write it down every night and build the list of what you are really successful at, because you will realize that you are very successful already as you are. And the third one was to, what was the third one? Writing a vision as it already happened. So starting with the end date in mind, let's say 3 months from now, and write it from the perspective that it already happened and how you feel about this. So let's say it's July 17th and I'm so excited that my book is finished and I am so happy that I was able to utilize all my wisdom in there. So write that vision from the point as it already happened to help that vision to actually pull you towards that. And yes, you can contact us at globalawakeninginstitute.com. It's our website. We have a place where you can actually connect with us there, send us an email.
Yeah, we have a blog attached there as well, which is Global Awakening Institute/blog. You can find the link to that on the website as well. And
we provide all the nice tools on the website actually to help people with their journey and to see what we are doing during our workshops. We have pretty much one workshop a month and coaching sessions with clients and master programs.
Actually, conveniently, the one that's coming up now in a week is it's called Living Inside Out, and that's very much tapping into what's really driving us, you know, and as we spoke about earlier, building that self-worth and that self-image, and developing a firm, clear vision and clarity on where we're heading in life. It's a fantastic workshop.
That's on your website, right?
Yes, they can find more information there as well.
Okay.
Fantastic, Joe.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very, very much for having us. It was great to chat. I wish we had another 5 hours because
we kind of touched upon some of the concepts, but I think it was a good start.
It's very good.
Fantastic.
So that's our show for today, the Cube Talk Show. The regular times are Tuesdays, the third Tuesday of the month, from 6 to 7 p.m. And I may have additional shows. They are listed on my website, www.joetheinvestor.ca, and the tab is in the media and it's upcoming guests. And to contact me, my email is joetheinvestor.today@gmail.com. And as I've said before, my website is joetheinvestor.ca. Thanks for watching and have a good evening.